So there are some types of malware that your intrusion detection system would not pick up, your intrusion prevention system would not prevent, and your firewalls would not restrict from entering into your environment or into your perimeter, and your antivirus may also not flag them up. So this is where your work as a cybersecurity analyst, a SOC analyst, threat hunter, threat intelligence analyst would come into play. Malware analysis. So if you have a packet that has been captured in a pickup file and you're going through the captured packet and you see some kind of file that you suspect to be malicious, what do you do next? Do you just export the file and you start investigating in your forensic software, or what do you do the moment you discover a malware file within your captured packet in your organization? What do you do? The preparation phase of forensics is done before an incident or before a threat is discovered. Preparation is not done when the threat is discovered or after a malware has been found on your network. The preparation phase is done way before that, right? So there are three main types or three main stages of forensics. We've got the preparatory or the proactive phase, we've got the active phase, and we've got the reactive phase. The proactive talks about the preparation, which is where you gather your tools, your plans, your incident response, your malware analysis policy, your contingency plans, and all those necessary documents. Also, part of your preparation would include gathering and collecting the correct log information, right? Because the log information you're collecting will determine the kind of activities you can discover later. So you remember the IAAA, where there's the identity, the authentication, authorization, and then the accounting. So without the correct login, it is difficult to trace back either the identity or confirm the identity of who carried out what actions. Also, without proper accounting, it's difficult to tell what actions the person with the identity carried out on the machine or within your network or within your systems. That's the preparatory phase of forensic. That's the proactive phase. And then we've got the active phase, which is also known as live forensics. This is where you investigate an ongoing threat or an ongoing malware activity within your network or within your perimeter or within your production environment. And this would include things like containing, eradication, and all those things. And then we've got the reactive phase, which is also known as dead forensics. This is where you collect information or gather evidence after the incident has occurred, and then you investigate the evidence you're able to gather. You do things like reverse engineering where possible, or you put the evidence in a sandboxed environment where you can see how it's operating in real time and gather information about its activities. What files is it touching? What areas of the system or the network is it touching? What is behavior like in a live environment? But obviously you don't test a malware activity in a production environment. You test your malware activity in a sandboxed environment. So now that preparation phase is done before the malware even enters into your network, not when the malware is in your network. But not all types of malware spread by itself. There are worms, there are viruses. Worms spread by themselves without human propagation, but viruses need human propagation to spread, right? But how would you know if it's a worm or a virus if you've not investigated it? How do you know? The best place to know would be in a sandbox environment to see its behavior and see how it's operating. Then you can use that to either determine if it's a worm or a malware. Or you contain the packet captured and you can transfer that captured packet to your sandboxed environment, extract or export the malware, and open the malware or import the malware into a decompiler or a disassembler like Ghidra or IDA, right? So these are software that can help you decompile a software and executable and see what is inside, see what the code is doing, see what the code has been programmed to do. And there are lots of ways to achieve this. I like to be realistic, right? So not everybody would know how to interpret code, especially in cybersecurity. You don't need to be a programmer to be in cybersecurity. So I do not expect all of you to be programmers. However, if you do know how to code, it's a plus. If you take the infected file or the suspected malware into a decompiler like Ghidra, Ghidra is able to decompile it or disassemble it depending on the language, and you can see the code that is in operation somewhere on the right hand side depending on your window arrangement in the application. And you can either interpret the code yourself and see what the program is doing, see what the malware has been programmed to do, or if you are not able to interpret code and you don't know about programming, no problem, just relax. You can copy the code and guess what? Take it into AI software like ChatGPT, and then you ask the AI, the LLM, to interpret the code for you and tell you what that piece of code is doing. And then wait for the output of the AI software. It's going to tell you what that software is doing, and you can add that to your report, or you need to verify. You can cross-check using multiple LLMs, right? Large language models, that's what an LLM is. So things like ChatGPT, Twitter, Grok, and a couple of other LLMs like that. So you can enter the code into multiple AI applications to compare and see if the output, if what they are saying the application or the software or the piece of code does is the same. If they are all saying the same, then you know the chances of that being correct are high. What would be the dangers of exporting the malware directly into your system and investigating it? What would be the possible dangers? The chances of it infecting machines would be very, very high, because then what's the guarantee that a system is not vulnerable to that threat or to that malware? There is no guarantee. And the fact that IDS, IPS, firewalls, antivirus did not pick it up, it shows the malware may be very capable of hiding itself or evading detection, which makes it even riskier. So there are some types of malware that your intrusion detection system would not pick up, your intrusion prevention system would not prevent, and your firewalls would not restrict from entering into your environment or into your perimeter, and your antivirus may also not flag them up. So this is where your work as a cybersecurity analyst, a SOC analyst, threat hunter, threat intelligence analyst would come into play, because then you can use certain parameters to determine the likelihood or the chances of that being malware or being infectious. And there are other things you can check within Wireshark, Ghidra, several other software you can use to investigate. Forensic software also could let you know different things.